The nature of technical analysis. Technical analysts try to gauge investor sentiment by studying stock prices, trading volume, and various measures of investor sentiment. Technicians do not look at dividends or profits, either for individual companies or for the market as a whole. If they are studying an individual company, they don't even need to know the company's name. It might bias their reading of the charts. A technical analyst can be compared to a person who watches a computer program draw lines on a monitor and tries to discover a pattern that will predict the next line to be drawn. The lines themselves are all that matters, and it would be distracting to think about whether the computer program was written in Java or C++. In the same way, the mood of the stock market can be gauged by watching stock prices. Additional news about the economy or specific companies would be distracting. John McGee, who co-authored the so-called Bible of Technical Analysis, boarded up the windows of his office so that his readings of the hopes and fears of the market would not be influenced by the sight of birds singing or snow falling. A technician's most important tool is a chart of stock prices. The most popular are vertical line charts, traditionally using daily price data. Each vertical line spans the high and low prices, with horizontal slashes showing the opening and closing prices. A technician adds lines to show a trend or other exploitable pattern. To reduce clutter, I omitted the vertical lines and just show the closing prices. Humans have a natural affinity for professed experts who replace confusion and ambiguity with clarity and decisiveness. Periodically, a technical analyst is elevated to the status of financial guru when astoundingly accurate predictions are reported in the media and devoted followers seek the advice of these celebrities. For example, Joseph Granville was a flamboyant guru, sometimes enlivening his public speeches with vaudeville skits using a chimpanzee or ventriloquist's dummy, and at other times preaching in a prophet's robes. The market is a jealous god. It rewards winners and chastises losers. The Holy Bible is a record of winners and losers. The market follows every precept in that book. If the market does not follow man's ways, what does it follow? God's ways. His forecasts were so inaccurate in the early 1970s, due, he says, to an addiction to golf, that he abandoned the stock market completely. But then Golfers Anonymous turned his life around and he wrote a book, How to Win at Bingo, that sold 500,000 copies. Buoyed by this success and 4 years of good stock market predictions in the late 1970s, he boasted of having cracked the secret of markets, promised that he would never make a serious mistake again, and nominated himself for the Nobel Prize in Economics. In his spare time, he predicted that Los Angeles would be destroyed by an 8.3 earthquake in May 1981. Granville issued a buy recommendation in April 1980, and the Dow jumped 30 points the next day, perhaps propelled by avid subscribers following his advice. In September, he continued to predict a runaway stock market. Short sellers are about to get the heat, and if you think hell is hot, watch. On January 6, 1981, he abruptly turned bearish. His post-midnight calls to his biggest subscribers telling them to sell all of their stocks, even while his normal market letter advised smaller subscribers to buy, provoked the Granville crash, a 24-point drop in the Dow on January 7th. In his March 7, 1981 newsletter, he declared that the March massacre had begun and that he couldn't possibly be wrong in his prediction that the Dow would fall at least 100 points and possibly 200 points by May 1st. In fact, the Dow rose from 965 to 996. His recycled sell recommendation in September 1981 sent tremors through financial markets. In late September 1981, he appeared on British television, advising investors to sell everything. He predicted that British interest rates would jump from 14% to above 17%, and that the British Industrial Stock Index would sink like a stone, from 480 to 150.